As the Philippines enters the new dawn of the 21st century, it has gone through numerous challenges in its economy. Its population had gone through the roof, having an estimated 78 million people living under the archipelago nation. The majority of them belong to ages 0 to 9. This economy, as denounced by GDP, is estimated to be around 83 billion US dollars, just having gone through one of its worst economic crises in 1997. Its economic revival has seemed bleak since then. In the 21st century, the first president to have been established in the newfound generation would be held by the Estrada administration, a government that would soon have a change of hands immediately after 3 years in leadership. In the year 2001, the year that the former Estrada would be ousted due to plunder charges, the new Arroyo administration would be established, one that would go on to become a 9-year-long administration. This is at the beginning of such leadership would see the nominal gross domestic product in 2001 to have $78 billion. But by the end of the tenure, it would be over $175 billion, a tremendous growth, considering that there was also a major financial crisis that had hit the nation of the Philippines throughout. The Philippines at the early stages of the new administration was noted as a middle-income country, with a per capita of $3,800. The poverty rate, however, was a complex issue, as inequality levels were tremendously high, and made over 40% of the population live below $1 a day. Having a nation with numerous political and business family-backed parties has brought in numerous challenges with corporations monopolizing industries. The Arroyo administration is in charge of bringing its own set of policies and rules that would in their goals help create the economy of the Philippines. With success attributed, they were able to lower inflation rates. They were also able to combat fiscal deficit and tax revenue decline with their establishment of a 12% VAT system. And due to these several more goals, they at one point successfully brought the Philippine currency as the best performing in the entire East Asia region. By the end of Arroyo's administration tenure, although it had achieved and accomplished numerous works, it still had brought in unnecessary political and socio-economic scandals and issues. The entire economy on a surface level looked extremely good. The inflation rate was down, and had only experienced a bit of an increase due to the 2008 financial crisis. Debt to GDP, which was around 60% in 2001, had fallen to 50% by 2010, and so much more. Yet at the same time, poverty is on the rise, and millions of Filipinos have seen jobs canceled or removed. This was in more ways than one due to the government's failure to address corruption, which in fact led to an increase in inequality rate across the nation, and it then brought in its own myriad of problems. Fast forward to 2010, the new Aquino presidency has arrived. It was given a nation to handle which had a GDP of about $175 billion, and ended it after its 6-year-long tenure of about $315 billion. Another big breakthrough as it further increased the 21st century boom with the entire Southeast Asian region. By the end of this administration, the Philippines' population further boomed to over 100 million people. Significant feats have been initiated by this new leadership, with a focus on infrastructure developments, educational reforms, and even military reforms that would help modernize the equipment. This might have been initiated as a necessary feat to combat and remove old equipment, but also due to the fact that the southern major island of Mindanao had also an increasing issue due to terrorism, which saw the employment of private armies, and some parts which was governed by insurgents, who had established their own laws around the island. His tenure, which would come to an end by 2016, also saw the nation's public debt continuously decrease. The export growth has also seen a huge double-digit gain, after posing over 12.1% just in 2014. And most importantly, these were the years that the Philippines had seen its growth largely thanks to the robust private and public consumption, booming business process outsourcing, and finally its construction sector. Soon after, the new administration would arrive in 2016, and it would be the Duterte presidency. It would garner an economy that was worth $318 billion, and would end in 2021 with close to $400 billion. Unlike the previous administration, this presidency has seen one of the biggest financial and health crises around the world, infamously known as the COVID-19 pandemic. Its economy, which dropped down to around 9.5% in 2020, had seen itself leap back up the year after by 5.7%. The presidency of Duterte would be a unique entitlement, as he was known to be very ambitious yet enthralled with controversies. Significant activities that would be established are his way of further bolstering the economy with infrastructure developments. One that would have grand promises, but only on the him that it achieves its stated goals, as debates around the nation have raised issues to where the capital acquired would come from and at what rate. Hence, the deepening role of external debt was often conversated about. Yet as the government was often blamed for its increasing debt issues led by its strong and ambitious infrastructure drive, its overall national debt to GDP ratio was actually falling. It was at one point less than 37% in 2019, making the nation successfully beat out its huge debt crisis in the past decades. But as we all know, the world would see a huge change due to the coming financial crisis, which saw the debt to GDP swell over again. Aside from such spending and concerning debt crisis, the presidency is also famous for establishing and changing old and forsaken policies, which were in relation to how foreign capital would invest locally in the Philippines, a tax reform that would help lower the overall corporate tax rate, and one of the most significant feats is when he lifted a 9-year ban on new mining agreements that were imposed way back in 2012. This was seen both as controversial as environmental activities fought their way by claiming it would lead to a further deterioration of the overall Philippines' environmental life. But this was in fact not the only issue the government had faced from both local and international voices. They were also the center of a humanitarian drug war, which was viewed globally as inhumane. Numerous shutdowns of public media were also raised as an issue by local and global activities. And finally, the activities are done by the president himself, due to his negative views of the United States, and were most of a China-leaning person. These were all issues, both domestically and internationally for the Philippines, has still seen great endeavors to be established. As noted earlier to its economy, the Duterte administration was still able to fix a lot of loopholes in the socio-economic environment of the country, most particularly pertaining to the country's overall crime rate, whereas it had acquired a nation with crime registered at 131,000 in 2016, but had seen it drop down to less than 35,000 by 2021. This was in many ways presumably because of the controversial war on drugs the administration had entailed, as they consistently pose out the public appearance of successful deletion of drug havens. Further, its infrastructure and COVID-19 spending policy, also a mistreated topic, has still posed the Philippines to actually emerge with the lowest foreign debt to GDP ratio in the entire Southeast Asian region. Data from the Department of Finance have reported that its external debt to GDP in 2021 was just 27%, compared to Malaysia and Thailand, which had over 69%, Vietnam at 38%, and Indonesia at 35%. The present moment of today, and the coming years on the other hand, are now handled by a different administration, notably known as the Marcos administration, which has so far only been in office for a few months, depending on when you see this video. Its agenda is still on the table on what significant feats it's about to do. But so far, its goal is more than likely going to combat the rising inflation rate of the Philippines, and the high debt amount it received from the previous government and foreign policies. Its state at the moment is to further deepen what the previous government has also done, with their infrastructure policies, and domestic and foreign policies. Will it succeed, however, is an entirely different conversation. As we may have all known, a lot can happen in the new and current 6-year tenure. Will they persist and ensure that the Philippines reach a $500 billion GDP? Or will there be inflation or debt troubles? So far, what we've known is that the leaders are at hand and confident in driving out these issues. Anyway, this is the final episode of a 3-part series. Don't forget to also watch those if you've not. Thanks for watching.